Hi, this is Brent the Climate Guru. In this portion of our Climate Basics, Climate Insights series, we're going to talk about what are climate tipping points and why must they be avoided to cause certain natural systems to continue to add to global warming. And what are the sources of carbon? What countries contribute to carbon?
Let's use a few examples of what tipping points are and what we're being warned about. One well-known tipping point is the West Antarctic ice sheets. The Arctic, of course, is the largest mass of ice on the planet, Antarctica, in the southern part of the globe. And this large ice mass reflects heat. It's white, it's bright colored, and when the sun comes down and hits it, it reflects that heat back into space. Hopefully most of that goes through the atmosphere and out into space, so it's actually a cooling effect that these large ice masses provide. So what's happening, as we know, is there's large parts of the West Antarctic ice sheet which are falling off. We see that in the news, and that's a great concern. So if they fall off and the West Antarctic ice sheet becomes smaller, it reflects less heat back into the atmosphere. It doesn't cool the Earth as much as it could. And it's a cycle because when we don't reflect heat from the Earth, what's there in place of these large ice masses? As the ice masses, the white reflecting surface becomes smaller, what's surrounding it? Either land, if there are ice masses on land, or the oceans. So the oceans or the land began to absorb more heat rather than reflecting it. So the Earth becomes warmer as the ice sheets reflect less heat, and that is a process where if the water becomes warmer around the Antarctic ice sheets, then it begins to melt faster. So this is an example of a tipping point where if we reach a certain point, these processes become irreversible and the warming continues because the ice sheet's melting. So this is an example of how it becomes an uncontrollable process that can go on for hundreds or thousands of years, contributing to warming. Let's look at another example of tipping points, the Amazon rainforest. The Amazon rainforest, as we know, is the largest tropical forest in the world. It's known to emit large amounts of oxygen. It has an atmosphere of rain and mist above it. It has actually a river of air above it, which contributes to a healthy atmosphere, rainfall in South America and other continents. It's a very important natural system. And the Amazon rainforest is often called the lungs of the planet. Why is it called the lungs of the planet? Well, it emits very large amounts of oxygen, and it also stores very large amounts of carbon dioxide. That's called a carbon sink. A system in the world that absorbs carbon is called a carbon sink. One that emits carbon is called a carbon source. So the rainforest, the Amazon, is one of the most important carbon sinks in the world. So in order to avoid excess carbon in the atmosphere, which heats the Earth, vast amounts of carbon are stored in the root systems and the soil surrounding the root systems of the Amazon forest and other forests in the world. So what is happening? The Amazon has been deforested about 17% to date, and most of that is the clearing of the forests for the production of beef cattle. They burn down forests, they create pasture lands, have ranches for beef cattle, which is sold all over the world, United States, Europe, and China. So scientists tell us that we've deforested the Amazon 17%. But if we get to 20% deforestation, the Amazon may reach certain critical tipping points. And what happens? Well, what happens is that because the natural climate surrounding the trees, which they call a river in the sky of water vapor that helps maintain the Amazon rainforest, it's diminished or it's lost. So the Amazon may begin to convert itself into what they call savanna. Savanna, of course, is not a rich, humid tropical rainforest. And the Amazon will begin to convert itself into savannas because there's insufficient emissions of moisture. Evapotranspiration is what it's called. And the Amazon will begin to grow as a savanna, and then it loses its potential as a great carbon sink. So that's another example. If we pass a tipping point of 20% of the Amazon, that it will become a tipping point and continue to contribute for hundreds or thousands of years to global warming. It's not absorbing carbon as it did before in the percentages or emitting oxygen. Another important natural system in the Earth that stores vast amounts of carbon is called permafrost. Permafrost is the ground that remains frozen for 2 consecutive years and essentially a mixture of rock, soil, and organic material. Organic material is the key issue here. So permafrost is frozen ground. It covers parts of Siberia, Alaska, Canada, Tibet, these very cold regions, and it contains a vast amount of carbon, 1,400 billion tons of carbon stored in the permafrost. Now, how much carbon is that? It's double the amount of carbon present in the atmosphere today. So it's a vast amount of carbon that must remain frozen in the ground indefinitely. But because of global warming, permafrost is beginning to melt. The frozen surface is beginning to melt in certain locations. It's been observed and measured. And when it melts, it emits very large amounts of carbon from the breakdown of the organic material that's stored in the permafrost. So how does it become a tipping point? Well, if enough of the permafrost melts and emits enough carbon, then the Earth heats more because of an increased greenhouse gas effect. And as it heats more permafrost melts. So it's a cycle that we've begun that becomes irreversible. And again, it's a dangerous tipping point that continues to heat the Earth for hundreds or thousands of years if we reach that tipping point. So there are other tipping points that you can read about, but those are 3 good examples when the natural processes turn into, instead of reducing global warming, they contribute to it for hundreds or thousands of years. Thanks for tuning in to the Climate Guru podcast. Stay inspired, stay informed, and keep taking action for our planet's future. Until next time, and remember, together we can make a difference.